I want to look at two clips of Christopher Hitchens. The first is he was dying famously of cancer, and he made it a point to give many interviews and write extensively about the experience of living while dying, as we all are. But Christopher knew his time was closer than most of us do. And one of the philosophical arguments he continued to make was that he was dying as he lived as an atheist, and that he considered it the province. Now, this is Hitchens himself, the province of a kind of a coward who would suddenly find God or find religion upon the diagnosis of a terminal illness. Let's look at this interview with NPR from 8 years ago, part one.
I'm here as the product of process of evolution, which doesn't make very many exceptions, and which rates life relatively cheaply. I mean, most human beings who've ever been born would have been dead long before they reached my age. And I would think in the rest of the world that, well, I know it's still true. So to have been relatively healthy till 62 is to have been dealt a pretty good hand by the cosmos, which doesn't know I'm here and won't notice when I'm gone. So that seemed the only properly stoic attitude to take.
Now he says, as you said at the earlier part of the conversation, talking about the universe, and our conversation about this current vogue of the universe has brought you to this place you have manifested. Christopher Hitchens plainly says, the universe doesn't know I'm here. And extrapolating, even if it did, it would not care. And here next he goes into his, and I thought this was really smart. You know, on the face of it, you might say this is a harsh reaction. This is anger, misdirected anger at his own terminal diagnosis, directed towards those who say they are praying for him. And he says, I want to understand exactly why you are praying for me and what is the point. If you are praying for my illness to somehow heal itself, that is a wonderful wish. It's lovely. It's irrational, but that I can accept. If you are praying for another outcome, and he's going to outline it here, I reject it, and I kind of love it. Here we go.
Or a wish that I reconcile myself with the supernatural or the divine, which is a large part of it. I mean, I wrote back to some of the people, some of them in holy orders or running religious organizations. I said, when you say you're praying for me, do you mind if I ask what for? And a number of them said, quite honestly, not really for your recovery, but that you see the error of your ways.
That you find God.
Yeah. Now, I find that not as easy to be graceful about, because though it's put in a nice way, it's part of a phenomenon that I've always thought of as very disgusting, which is the belief of the religious that, which they keep expressing and have done for centuries, that surely now you're dying, your fears will overcome your reason. I hope I don't have to underline what's horrible about that. There's an element of blackmail to it. And an element also of tremendous insecurity, I think, on their part. I mean, they don't seem to feel they'd win the argument so easily with someone who was mentally and physically strong. By the way, I think they're right.
What's your reaction to that, Sam?
I don't berate people who are weak. I regard religion as a form of mental illness, but a mental illness that is adopted by people who as a last resort because they're weak. I don't think they're cowards. I don't regard what they're doing as coercive. I'm not angry at them. I understand that we are not all blessed with the kind of fortitude and resilience that allows us to not need anything except reality. And so he's an angry person. I highly respect him, of course, but he's an angry person. He's also a bit of an activist, or was a bit of an activist. Atheism, especially the strong form of atheism, is a religion.
Agreed.
Because it makes a claim based on belief or on faith.
Agreed.
While I'm, for example, not an atheist at all. I'm an agnostic. Which is a major.
Love that. Yeah.
The agnostic says, I don't know, the question can never be answered. It's undecidable.
There's a
Linking those-
humility to that.
Exactly. I want to say that being a rational person or adhering to rationality implies modesty or humility. Not my strong suits, mind you. but
We would
but
never
when
know.
but when it comes to the intellect, I am humble. Intellectually, I am humble. I'm a very vain and narcissistic person, obviously, but otherwise, when it comes to the intellect, I am humble in the face of the universe, in the face of reality. I accept that the universe is indifferent, inexorable, random, uninterested in me. I don't apply to myself any privilege or special status. I don't think I can interact with the universe in any meaningful way whatsoever. I can query the universe, nor do I think that I will ever be able to obtain the correct answer, as opposed to vainglorious, hubristic scientists who are bad scientists. If you're vainglorious, if you have hubris, if you make absolute claims about your discoveries and about science, you're a seriously bad scientist. Science is a philosophy. It's a way of life. It's not a practice. And one of the major problems with scientists is that they conflate and confuse science with technology.
Mm-hmm.
Technology does provide answers, and these answers are always true. How do I know? The technology works. But science never provides true answers. And science and technology are not the same things. You can convert science to technology, and is often done, but they're not the same thing. They're not commensurate. They're not coextant. You could practice science that can never ever be converted to technology. And you could come up with technological inventions even if you're a college dropout and you've never studied science. These are not the same things. And yet scientists conflate them, confuse them and say, you see, science works. No, science always fails. Technology works. And they're not the same thing. Therefore, to settle the question of the alleged paranormal phenomena, their objectivity, for example, their existence in reality, is not something that science can declare on. It's not something that science can answer right now. We need to be humble in the face of the diversity of reality. We need to really be humble. That is not to say that telepathy exists, or clairvoyance, or ghosts exist. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, people have been reporting these phenomena. We need to study them. They are as real as any smartphone, more real even. They preceded the smartphone. You know? And that's where science, the hubris of science, and scientism, in my view, retard the scientific endeavor, because they say, no, we don't need to study this phenomenon. They are the equivalent of declaring that the moon is made of green cheese. No, they are not the equivalent of such a statement. They're not. Because to say that the moon is made of green cheese is a counterfactual statement that is not based on a single experience. No one has visited the moon and came back with green cheese. Unfortunately, I like it. But to say that you have seen a ghost is a qualitatively different kind of statement. Assuming, of course, that you're not a fraudster and you're not,
Right.
that you are. So it's a qualitatively different statement because it does report something about reality. It could be a single individual's reality. It could reflect a brain abnormality, misattributed arousal. I don't know. I don't know what it could reflect because no one is studying it. And no one is studying it because it's taboo. Princeton closed down its laboratory in 2007.
Really?
Yeah, in 2007. And that's it. There is no other, to the best of my knowledge, there is no other serious academic institution of higher education that is studying these millions of reports by people in all cultures, in all periods, in all societies, in all continents, of essentially identical phenomena. And that is shocking, to exclude such a vast forest of experiences just because it's green cheese.
Or because, again, there is a lack of humility. There's an intellectual snobbery there. What we're talking about is something that has been part of the human experience since humans were able to document human experience. And to excise that as a valid, inexplicable part simply because we cannot answer the question, to me, makes it one of the most tantalizing questions there is. That is a field of study I think any academic could chew on for the rest of their living days. Here's a shock. It's been over 16 years since the federal minimum wage was raised to $7.25. Can you believe it? Company productivity has doubled, but has your wallet size? 1 in 5 Americans can't even qualify for a basic credit card. The system is broken. We all deserve access to decent housing, transportation, and financial stability. That is where Kickoff comes in. Kickoff helps you build credit fast with affordable plans starting at just $5 per month. No hidden fees, no interest, just on-time payments that get reported to credit bureaus and help you grow a strong credit score. Users with credit scores under 600 saw an average increase of 84 points in their first year. With premium plans, you can even build credit with the rent you already pay. Only positive payments get reported. It is so easy to get started. Sign up in minutes from your phone. No credit check, no hassle. Over 1 million users and hundreds of thousands of 5-star reviews make Kickoff the #1 credit builder on the App Store. Start building credit today and get your first month for just $1 at getkickoff.com/Maureen. That's getkickoff.com/Maureen.